Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Yesterday, the Arizona Cardinals announced that they are releasing quarterback Kyler Murray. And because he's got so much guaranteed money on his deal, the Steelers can now sign him for the vet minimum if they want to. So today on Steelers Talk, I'm going to be breaking down the pros, the cons of Kyler Murray, and I'm going to give you my answer as to whether or not the Steelers should sign Kyler Murray to be their answer at the quarterback position heading into the 2026 season. Now, make sure you guys check out our Steel City Drinking Team merch that we have on our website right now, guys. Today is the final day to get your Steel City Drinking Team t-shirt. Guaranteed shipping in time for St. Patrick's Day, so go chatsports.com/pitgreen to get yours today. This t-shirt is a limited edition t-shirt that's only going to be around until St. Patrick's Day, guys. It's only $29.99 on our website right now, and it comes in that beautiful green color there. And my bosses tell me, guys, the more that we sell, the more merch opportunities we are going to get. You guys have done a fantastic job selling or buying up these t-shirts here over the last several weeks. My bosses are telling me that we could be seeing some more merch opportunities here in the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for those. But if you want to get your Steel City Drinking Team t-shirt in time for St. Patrick's Day, today is the final day to guarantee shipping before the holiday, so go chatsports.com/pitgreen. That link is down there in the comments and description of today's show if you guys want to get a t-shirt today. And then also, we have Chat Sports Beers hats available for $24.99 on our website right now when you go to chatsports.com/beers. So if you want to pair your Steel City Drinking Team t-shirt with a Beers hat on St. Patrick's Day, you guys can get that right now, chatsports.com/beers. All right, so let's get into it here. Kyler Murray is now officially available, or at least he will be available on March 11th, the start of the new league year. Adam Schefter said yesterday, sources, Cardinals have informed QB Kyler Murray that they intend to release him on the first day of the new league year next Wednesday, barring a trade between now and then. Arizona already owes him $36.8 million guaranteed in 2026, and another $19.5 million would have triggered on March 15th for 2027. He will now be moving on. And here's what's interesting about the entire situation, guys. Because Kyler Murray is getting paid so much guaranteed money from the Arizona Cardinals next year, he can theoretically sign for the veteran minimum to whatever team that he chooses, and that's going to make him one of the more valuable assets on the quarterback market this year alongside Malik Willis, among others. But the question that is on every Steelers fan's mind out there today is, should Kyler Murray be Pittsburgh's number one QB target? Is Kyler a better option at QB than Aaron Rodgers, who is apparently the Pittsburgh Steelers' plan A option at this point in the offseason? Well, we can take a look at Kyler's profile here. He's going to be 29 years old next season. Obviously, he's known for his shorter stature. He was listed by the Cardinals at 5'10", 207 pounds. He was the number one overall pick by Arizona back in 2019. And, something to keep in mind with Kyler is that he's only had one healthy season in the last half decade in his NFL career here, and it was just a couple years ago. So, there are some similarities between Kyler and Sam Darnold. This is something that people have pointed to, with Kyler and over the last 24 hours, is that he could be the next Sam Darnold because they're both former high draft picks, top 3 draft picks. They're both very physically talented individuals. There's a reason why they got taken as high as they got drafted, and they spent the early years of their career in a bad situation. Obviously, the Cardinals and the Jets, not to mention the Carolina Panthers, are some of the worst run organizations in the National Football League. And obviously, with the success of Sam Darnold going to more functional organizations like the Minnesota Vikings, and then obviously the Seattle Seahawks, where they won the Super Bowl last year, everyone's trying to find that next Sam Darnold. And there are some similarities there in the profiles between Kyler and Darnold that lend some people to kind of say, oh, the Steelers can get their version of Sam Darnold if we sign Kyler Murray here for the veteran minimum. And I will say, on paper, I would say McCarthy's offense is a decent fit for Kyler. McCarthy does like to go shotgun and spread, and he's talked about QB mobility being important, and he's complimented Kyler Murray in the past on his playmaking ability and his mobility. And at the end of the day, like, if you bring in Kyler Murray and he's your starting quarterback for 2026 and he doesn't work out, it's only the veteran minimum. You can always go to Will Howard at the end of the season if this team fails under Kyler Murray as their starting quarterback. And then, of course, you can draft your future franchise quarterback in the 2027 NFL draft, where it's supposed to be a loaded quarterback class. But with all that said, guys, Kyler would not be my number one quarterback option. I understand a lot of the reasons why people would want to bring him in, but personally, guys, he would not be my top choice. And in the second half of today's show, I'm going to be breaking down my concerns with Kyler and why I would probably not have Kyler be at the top of my list in terms of QB targets this year. But before we get into those reasons, fill in the blank for me down there in the comment section. Kyler Murray is a top blank QB in the NFL right now. Let me know what you guys' answer is down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at GLD. While I tell you about our sponsor today, let me know where you rank Kyler Murray among NFL starting quarterbacks. With that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at GLD. And guys, every guy has those go-to pieces in their collection, right? Those shoes that go with everything, that one pair of jeans that fit just right, the t-shirt that always looks clean. No matter what you pair with, you don't overthink those pieces. You just grab them and they work every time. But most guys are missing one thing from their lineup, and that is jewelry. That's where GLD comes in. They make the kind of pieces that become part of your routine, not just something you save for special occasions. Just clean, quality pieces that instantly make your fit look more fresh. And once you add a GLD chain to your rotation, I promise you guys, you'll never go back. And this isn't the cheap stuff, guys. GLD only uses real gold. Every stone is meticulously hand set, and the production process is on a completely different level. And trust me, guys, you can see and feel the difference with GLD. They've got everything that you guys could want, from chains to pendants to bracelets, even a nice selection of watches if that's your style. Whether you keep it simple or you like a little shine, they've got you covered. And it's not just hype, guys. They have over 2 million customers and 50,000 5-star reviews, with GLD being worn by big names like Justin Bieber, Malik Nabers, Micah Parsons, A$AP Rocky, and plenty more. But the best part is that every single piece by GLD is guaranteed for life. If you want to look, feel, and be your best, you just want to level up any outfit, this is the missing piece that you've been sleeping on in your collection. Work hard and change the game with GLD today. For a limited time only, and new customers are getting an insane deal with our friends at GLD today, guys. Use code CHAT to get 50% off at GLD.com. That's half off with code CHAT at GLD.com. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you, and a big thank you to GLD for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Now, my first concern with bringing in Kyler Murray specifically to the Pittsburgh Steelers and playing in the AFC North is I have concerns about Kyler playing in the weather conditions, particularly later in the season in this division, okay? Because it's not just Pittsburgh that plays outside and in the cold and in the wind and in the snow and all the conditions, but it's every team in the AFC North. Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, they all play in cold weather environments late in the year, and Kyler Murray is going to be asked to play in really big football games when it's cold and the ball is wet. And you guys look at, where he grew up. He grew up in Texas, where it's like it never snows and it very rarely rains and all this different stuff. And, he went to school in the South as well at Oklahoma and played in the Big 12 at the time. Right now they're in the SEC, but it was the Big 12 at the time. A lot of warm weather environments that he played in college. Then he goes to a dome stadium in a warm weather environment in Arizona playing for the Cardinals in his NFL career. This guy has played in less than 30% of his NFL games outdoors. All right, he's played in over 70% of his NFL games in an indoor environment. So that is definitely going to be different if he comes here to Pittsburgh. He's only played in one game where it's been under 45 degrees, and he's only played in one game where it's been raining outside. And if you remember, it was a couple years ago in Green Bay, and it was maybe the worst game of his NFL career. He's got smaller hands, and that makes me worry about whether or not he's going to be able to handle a wet football. All right, whereas with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, for example, he's been playing in cold weather conditions literally his entire NFL career. He's got huge hands. He can handle that football in those inclement conditions. And, I think that Aaron Rodgers is certainly built for AFC North football more than Kyler Murray is. Now, my second concern with Kyler is, will he be able to stay healthy? And I understand that, maybe the health concerns are maybe worth it because of the vet minimum, because if he gets injured, it's like, oh, but you're only paying him $1.25 million against the cap. So it's really really a low-risk proposition. But Murray's had 2 major lower body injuries in the last 4 years, guys. He's missed a lot of games over the last half-decade. He's only been able to start and complete an entire season once in the last half-decade. And I just don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers could rely on this guy to be able to stay healthy throughout the course of an entire 17-game schedule, let alone through the playoffs, which is what the Steelers want here in Pittsburgh heading into 2026. Now, my third concern with Kyler Murray is I do question the upside and the longevity of Kyler Murray, and I understand that Kyler at 29 years old is significantly younger than Russell Wilson when we brought him in 2 years ago, and Aaron Rodgers when we brought him in last year, not to mention Aaron Rodgers this year at 43 years old. But guys, Kyler Murray's game heavily relies on his athleticism, his mobility, and his out-of-structure playmaking. And now that he's approaching the age of 30, the age where athleticism usually begins to wane, especially if you've had a couple major lower body injuries like Kyler has had, that's going to go away here pretty soon. And I really wonder how sustainable Kyler Murray's play style is, once his athleticism starts to fade. Number one, how long is he going to be able to maintain that athleticism? Maybe a couple more years. He's already 29, and we usually see running backs and wide receiver athleticism wane at 30. I expect it to, come at least in the next few years. And then, when that happens, can he bring enough from within structure and in the pocket to really thrive as a starting quarterback into his 30s? I really don't really see that with Kyler Murray. If I'm being honest with you, his shorter stature means that he can't really see over the middle of the field past his first initial read. And if he's being forced to play more from within the pocket, I kind of worry that he's going to turn into almost like a Russell Wilson clone that we've seen Russ, where when he lost his athleticism, he still played like old Russell Wilson, where he wanted to play an ad lib and, play out of structure, but he just didn't have the escapability anymore. I kind of feel like Kyler Murray is going to become a very similar player to Russell Wilson in the next few years once that athleticism starts to fade, and I don't want that here in Pittsburgh. We've already seen what a faded Russell Wilson looks like. I don't want to do the same experiment with Kyler Murray. And even Mike McCarthy said in his introductory press conference how important it is to win from the pocket. He says at the end of the day, to win these big games that are being played in January, these quarterbacks still got to make throws from the pocket, and that's why the belief and the work and the training and all those things that go into it. So at the end of the day here, guys, my take on Kyler Murray is that I think his play style has a quickly approaching expiration date, which definitely limits his long-term prospects. So people on Steelers Twitter saying this guy could be the long-term answer at the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I just don't see that. I actually see him more closer to like a Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers signing, more as like a short-term stopgap option if the Steelers bring him in, than somebody that's going to be the Steelers starter 5 years down the road. I think that, a 1-year solution here with Kyler is much more likely than a 5-year solution. And, if we're going to go with the 1-year solution, I think Aaron Rodgers makes more sense than Kyler Murray at this point. Now, I would say that I would consider Kyler a plan B tier quarterback option. Like if Rodgers retires, you are really left with a lot of not great options. You've got like Malik Willis and some other guys that you could bring in, but I would consider Kyler Murray in that similar class to Malik Willis as somebody that you could bring in with some talent that could, be a short-term stopgap for this team as a veteran starting quarterback with some good playmaking ability. That's a decent fit for Mike McCarthy's offense. But personally, guys, I think Rodgers is still this team's plan A option, and I would agree with that assessment, all right? And I think there's a number of reasons why I think Rodgers is a better option than Kyler Murray for the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though he will be more expensive. Like, he's still a cheap option, relative to the rest of the quarterback market. The Steelers will probably sign him for somewhere between $10 and $15 million. But, he already has continuity with a lot of the players here in the Steelers locker room. DK Metcalf, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, Jaylen Warren. So he's got that continuity, but he's also got the continuity inside Mike McCarthy's offense. He's spent the early years of his career in this offense. Also, he's a terrific quarterback mentor for any young quarterbacks that are on the roster, whether it's just Will Howard or if they draft a quarterback this year, they bring in maybe a Trey Lance to maybe be an understudy this year as well. The players want him back, and these players saw him play in practice and in games every single day, and their jobs depend on his performance. So if they want Rodgers back, they clearly feel like Aaron Rodgers can still do this job at a high level if the Steelers can get the right receiving weapons around him. And And like I said, guys, the 2026 quarterback market frankly sucks, and I think that Rodgers is a much better fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike McCarthy than Kyler Murray is, even at the vet minimum. Now, in terms of plan B options, I would consider Kyler in that same class as guys like Malik Willis and Mac Jones, as guys that are, in their 20s. They didn't work out in their first spot, but they have some upside to be a long-term starting quarterback option. So we'll see, what happens if Aaron Rodgers decides to retire. But it looks like Mac Jones would be extremely expensive. You'd have to pay like at least a second-round pick, it sounds like, to get Mac Jones on your football team. I'm not sure Mac is worth that. And then Malik Willis is apparently going to be worth like $25 to $30 million a season. Is that something the Steelers really want to do, especially if they have to guarantee most of that contract? I don't know. Maybe Kyler Murray would be the best option out of these three. But then, if they don't want to go this route, they want to go like the bridge quarterback route to compete with Will Howard or Drew Aller or somebody else that they bring in, Anthony Richardson. You could bring in a guy like Geno Smith, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Joe Flacco. A lot of these guys would be very close to the vet minimum as well. Don't love this plan, guys, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, but it is a possibility if Aaron Rodgers decides to retire. Also, I kind of doubt, even though I'm not the biggest fan of bringing in Kyler, I don't think the Steelers are the favorites to land him anyway. I think that he desperately wants to become a Minnesota Viking. And if Minnesota wants him, he's going to be a Viking, plain and simply, guys. The only way Kyler Murray is not a Minnesota Viking next year is if Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings say no, which is possible because I do think Kyler isn't exactly Kevin O'Connell's cup of tea from a stylistic standpoint at the quarterback position. But even then, I think he might even prefer Miami to Pittsburgh just because of the weather and all that different stuff. It's going to be an interesting conversation with Kyler Murray over these next few weeks. But take your pick for me down there in the comment section. Who would be the better fit for a one-year solution here in Pittsburgh on a one-year contract here with Mike McCarthy? Is it Aaron Rodgers, type AR, or type KM for Kyler Murray? Let me know what you guys' thoughts are down there in the comment section, and that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk. We'll have another video come out for you guys later today. Of course, if we get breaking news, Ponzi and I will for sure get you a breaking news video. If not, just straight up go live. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because things are just heating up here before NFL free agency.